Care package deployed. Hostile UAV in the area. Hostile cluster deployed. Enemy care package incoming. Enemy UAV active. Hostile stealth bomber entering the AO. One minute left. Seconds remain. Hostiles launched a cruise missile. activated. Enemy UAV overhead. Airstrike. Find cover.
Had a black Egyptian mother named Hagar, and he also had an Egyptian wife. The evidence of black Egyptian physical traits should be seen in people with true Egyptian ancestry or true black Arab ancestry. The truth is, the white Arabs and the white European Jews' real biblical identity has been hidden today because the term Semitic has been used to describe them since they currently live in biblical Semitic lands. However, maternal DNA studies reveal that the true origin of today's Arabs and Jews comes from the many sons and women of Japheth, who dwelt in Central Asia, most notably modern-day southern Russia, Western Russia, aka the Pale of Settlements, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. The Seljuk Turks, the Oghuz Turks, the Uzbeks, Kurds, and other Turkish Hunnish groups would eventually over time migrate west to the Middle East and Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey. They would adopt Islam as their religion and then conquer North Africa, the Levant, and Jerusalem under the latter name, the Ottoman Turkish Islamic Caliphate. In 1948, the European people of Turkish, Hunnic, Bulgar, Slavic, Khazar, and Germanic descent who converted to Judaism would conquer British Mandate Palestine, otherwise known as Arab Palestine, renaming it Israel. So as you can see, the true ethnicity of Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the Israelites cannot be taught correctly in the church or on TV unless we have a clear understanding of the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians. This is because the biblical Ishmaelite Arabs were a people heavily mixed with black Egyptian DNA, and the Israelites mixed with the black Egyptians for 400 plus years before they left with Moses to journey to the land of Canaan. In addition, 2 of the 12 tribes of Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh, will come from the stock of a black Egyptian woman named Asenath.
And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said, He hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's
Can't get them all, you know what I'm
house.
saying?
And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction.
So to erase the false teaching we have gotten for years, we need to see what ancient historians had to say about the skin color or appearance of the ancient Egyptians.
Fuck out of here,
a Greek
bro.
historian who lived and spent time in Egypt during 480 BC made a statement about a group of people called the Colchians who resembled the Egyptians but lived in above the Turkey-Armenian boundaries along the western slope of the Caucasus Mountains near the Black Sea in what is now called the European country Georgia. He quoted, "For the fact is I soon came to realize myself, and then heard from others later that the Kochians are obviously Egyptian. When the notion occurred to me, I asked both the Kochians and the Egyptians about it, and found that the Kochians had better recall the Egyptians than the Egyptians did of them. Some Egyptians said that they thought that the Kochians originated with Pharaoh's Sesostris army, but I myself guessed their Egyptian origin not only because of the Kochians are dark-skinned and curly hair, but more importantly because Kochians, Egyptians, and the Ethiopians are the only peoples in the world who practice circumcision and who have always done so." Now, Aeschylus, who lived around 520 to 456 BC, was a Greek poet who admitted in his literary work, The Suppliants, that the Egyptians in his time were black. Now, he quoted, "The crews must be Egyptian, for their black limbs stand out clear to the eye against their white tunics." He also quoted that the Egyptians are presented as having a dark complexion. The entire Egyptian army is said to be black by both the Danaans and Danaans. When found from his lookout, he distinguishes the Egyptians in their first ship as their black limbs are shown from their white garment. Now, Aristotle, who lived in the 4th century BCE, a Greek scholar and philosopher, quotes this racist statement about the Egyptians. "Those who are black are cowards like the Egyptians and the Ethiopians."
Oh, them motherfuckers must be playing together. That was some sneaky shit I just seen. See some sneaky shit.
The world is so confused right now that even though we see an agenda to white
arm, leg, head, arm, leg.
When black people or anybody non-white say that they are the Israelites, people say, "Nope, you are a Hamite Egyptian," or "No, you are a Hamite Canaanite." These statements have been attributed to the so-called Negro and the so-called Native American Indian, which are bywords given to these people groups by the European sons of Japheth. Now, was this trickery and confusion prophesied in the Bible?
God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
So what are the cold, hard facts that cannot be disputed?
Oh man, somebody hit me up.
Based on language, passed down traditions, the DNA haplogroup testing of ancient skeletons from Egypt, and what geneticists call matched likelihood index autosomal STR testing scores, the bloodline of the ancient Egyptians is not seen in the so-called Bantus race. In all actuality, the bloodline of the ancient Egyptians can be seen in the Dogon tribe, the Fulani people, the Alur tribe, the Hausa people, the Beja, Afar peoples, and the Somalian tribes in the Horn of Africa. According to opposite 9th century Muslim geographer Ahmad al-Yaqubi, the Beja people in ancient times had kingdoms stretching from Aswan in South Egypt to Massawa in Eritrea. Now, some Egyptologists say linguistically the Beja tribe has similarities to the language of the ancient Egyptians, just like certain tribes in Somalia. Their language also falls into the Kush family of languages seen in Sudan and Nubia, which was a part of ancient southern Egypt in BC times. To top this off, German-born 19th century Egyptologist Emily Bruce traced a certain clan of the Beja people to the Egyptian people of the 20th dynasty. Now, American physician and scientist Samuel George Morton proved in the 1844 AD Crania Egyptica study that there was a clear distinction between the Negro and Native Egyptians. With craniometry comparison of ancient Egyptian skulls and sub-Saharan Negro skulls from West Africa, Morton proved that the Egyptian ruling elite class of ancient Egypt had a different skull shape than the subservient slave class at the time. Now, whose skull matched up perfectly with the subservient slave class, which in the Bible was the Hebrew Israelites? The sub-Saharan Bantus Negro skull. Now, this proves that the ancient Egyptians and the sub-Saharan Bantus people were two different people. Now, to prove the claim that the Bantus people are not the ancient Egyptians even more, let's examine an article called "Ancient Egyptian Mummy Genome Suggests an Increase in Sub-Saharan African Ancestry in Post-Roman Periods" by paleogeneticist and Professor Verena Vijay Schneemann at the University of Zurich with her co-partner archaeogeneticist Professor Dr. Alexander Peltzer from the Institute for the Science of Human History. Now, this article proved that from the New Kingdom Egyptian period around 1388 BC to the Roman period around 1st century AD, the sub-Saharan Bantu people were minimally present in Egypt. Their studies on the ancient Egyptian mummies and more modern Egyptian skeletal remains show that after the Roman period, DNA skeletal evidence proved that the Bantus Negro people brought their gene flow back from outside of Africa or Israel into Egypt. This, of course, was the emigration of remaining Israelites in Israel into Africa by way of Egypt. The common denominator in the oral history of where many Bantu tribes scattered in Africa claim to have migrated from to get to their current location. Now, if a people claim to be one of the 12 tribes of Israel, then they need to be able to prove this using facts, showing the ancient Israelites,
I think the top is
not just the fact that they follow Torah. So we already have autosomal paternal DNA haplogroup markers from ancient Egyptian skeletons and craniometry studies proving that the so-called Negro was not a pure Egyptian. But what if we can also use the language from ancient Israel during BC times, oral histories and traditions and customs to prove who was the real Israelites? Many Bantus Negro African tribes, including the early indigenous Indians of the Americas, were found to contain similar DNA markers and language patterns that hinted to a common place of origin.
Fuck, they everywhere in this bitch, boy. This is like activated. Goddamn.
By using the language spoken in Israel prior to the emergence of King Saul, which is, by the way, Egyptian and Hebrew, we could track down the migration routes of the ancient Israelites. Now, this is not hard to believe or accept if we use critical thinking, because after spending 400 years in America, Negroes from West Africa have mastered the English language, forgetting the language of their forefathers. But this erasing of language did not happen with the mixed multitude of people that left with Moses during the Exodus.
And the mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And the son of an Israelitish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Israel, and this son of the Israelitish woman and a man of Israel strove together in the camp.
Now, based on these scriptures, wouldn't true Israelites today still have some evidence of the Egyptian and Hebrew language in their dialect today? Wouldn't there be some proof?
Man, nigga on top only got
While
two on me.
investigating the Australian Aborigines in Australia, Professor A.P. Elkin of Sydney University in Australia came up with Aboriginal tribes in Australia displaying Semitic Mediterranean facial features with Egyptian words in their language. Now, the Hebrew Israelites were Semitic, and they knew the language of the Egyptians. Now, such proof can be found in the Bible as Joshua's co-rule over Egypt during this time. Moses was learning the wisdom of the Egyptians, and King Solomon had alliances with the Egyptian pharaohs of Egypt, so much so as he was given the Canaanite city of Gezer as a dowry gift for his marriage with an Egyptian princess. Now, evidence of Hebrew traditions, the Hebrew language, with also an Egyptian influence, can be seen in certain native Indian tribes.
Hebrews the Negroes over
also
here.
In the Bantus Awe tribe, the Bantus Wolof Serer tribe, the Bantus Dagangme tribe, and the Bantus Nigerian Igbo tribe. Now let's get to the facts. In a manuscript written in the Mayan Quiche language, which is today spoken by the Quiche people in Guatemala, in 1554 AD, it tells a story from 3 Mayan Indians. A translator was able to decipher the story. Now in the story, the Mayans said that they were the descendants of some of the 10 tribes of Israel that were exiled under the Assyrian king Shalmaneser. While in Assyria, they decided to leave and emigrate to a different land. Some were left behind, but some made it. Now the text read in the Mayan language, these then were 3 nations of Quiches, and they came from where the sun rises in the east, descendants of Israel of the same language and the same customs.
Jump like on Call of Duty.
Now what is interesting is that the Mayans say that they are the sons of Yaqui. And the Aztecs and Mayans say that when they were forced to leave Israel, they traveled south to the sea and then to the ocean.
Oh man, that's crazy. I should have switched to my drink. Fuck.
Now, based off of direct study of the Native American Indians and ancient books such as Ills in America, or Probabilities that the Americans were of that race, written in 1650 AD by Thomas Thorogood, many Europeans believed that the Indians were descendants of the Northern Kingdom Israelites who were displaced by the Assyrian king Shalmaneser. Old accounts of stories told by the Native Indians describe their people as Israelites who left Israel during the reign of the Israelite king Hosea in the 8th century BC. But this is not the only thing that they describe. Native Indians were known, according to the Jesuits, Sephardic Gentile Jews, the Mormons, and other Europeans, to exhibit the following Hebrew traditions. They performed a camp or people's division into tribes, such as the Israelites. Now, some of the tribes also wrote from right to left, just as in the Hebrew script. They followed 2 to 3 wheat harvests in 1 year. They didn't swear or take oaths. They didn't drink or commit adultery, and they believed in the Oracle Covenant. They also had an Ark of Bulruth, which was similar to the Ark of the Covenant. The tabernacle was carried by 4 priests only,
Only a few ahead of me, my boy.
and they pitched a tent facing the east. And they called their aunts and uncles mother and father, which is seen in West Africa today. And they had cleanliness laws where women on their menses or after childbirth had to be set apart for 7 days. And on the 8th day, they were able to come back to the village. They did not eat pork. And as in the Hebrew levirate marriage, the widow had to marry the brother of the deceased husband. Their circumcision was performed with stone knives, as in the Hebrew culture. And the Indians believed in Hades, or a great pit for sinners, which they call Papufo.
Bitch.
And the Indians wore vestments similar to the Aaronitical robes of the high priest. And the first fruits were offered, such as corn, meat, and fish. They observed the year of Jubilee, which is seen in the Hebrew culture. And they uttered the word Hallelujah.
They blocked my
The temple
UAV, pussies.
was where the Indians worshiped, and sang and prayed and made offerings.
Them niggas is playing
And their
together, I
worship
swear. Every
of
time I see
Yahuwah
these 2 niggas together,
was known
bro.
throughout many Indian
Oh, bro,
tribes.
shit fishy.
Their notions of a theocracy was also seen, and they had a belief in the administration of angels. Their language and dialect showed a Hebrew influence, and they had the same manner of counting time as many of the ancient Hebrews. In the village, they had prophets, high priests, and a king hierarchy, and their divination rites were similar to the Aaronitical high priesthood. Now, the Udo-Aztecan family consists of many different Indian tribes. Semitic linguistic experts in Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew all have agreed that Hebrew and Egyptian can be found in the native Indians' dialect of the Udo-Aztecan speakers. However, the truth is often suppressed of this knowledge to the outside world. Here are some of the tribes in the Udo-Aztecan family who still retain evidence of their Hebrew ancestry in the language. And let's clear some things up about the Hebrew language seen in different cultures today. Prior to 1948, the Ashkenazi European Jews spoke Yiddish, which is rooted in the Germanic, Slavic, and Turkish languages. Now, these 3 languages have their roots in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, which is the land of Japhet, not Shem. Now, English, German, Dutch, Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, all have roots to old Germanic languages. Now, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and Romanian dialects are all based on the Romance language family, which also had its origin in the land of Japhet, such as Western Europe. The Sephardic Jews language, Ladino, is a Romance language derived from Old Spanish. Yiddish and Ladino were never spoken by the ancient Israelites. The native Indian Udo-Aztecan language family for European linguistic experts began in Israel, but was later influenced by non-Semitic tongues, perhaps during their migration settlements in the East on their way to the Americas. They acknowledged that the Udo-Aztecan language began as a Credo language mix, which Semitic was a dominant
niggas up on
component.
me by 1.
Here we will see the proof.
Fuck. 22. Beat me by 3. That's crazy. I was on top the whole damn time.
Now, proof about the Urdu as second language having a Hebrew influence can be seen in the work done by linguistic expert Morris Swadesh in his article Hebrew Influence in Zapotec Language in Southern Mexico. Also, linguistic expert Arnold Leesburg in his article Hebrew and Quechua, the Incan language of Peru, are alike in many ways. Also, the Nahuatl Aztec language has many similarities to the Egyptian language if you drop the L, according to Francis Cartoonin, an analytical dictionary of Nahuatl.
Oh, this is that anti-Semitic shit that they was talking about, right?
The Europeans documented that when
oh
the
man, they
Indians
gonna
talked
ban
about
my
the
damn
ancestors,
shit.
it was basically what the
How
Europeans
is
read
saying
about
somebody
the
else is
Israelites in the
something?
Bible.
Somebody lied
The
anti-Semitic.
Europeans said that the Indians did talk about a great prince that a long time ago brought them in a fleet to the Americas. The Indians described that God made one man and one woman, commanding them to live
But it was
together
okay
and
for white people
multiply,
to take from the Indians
and how
shit.
in a
That shit
famine
was
he
cool.
rained bread for them from heaven. They also said that during a time of drought and thirst, that God
But a
gave them
black
water
man
out
can't
of a
say
rock.
he might be a Jewish person.
The Taino Indians of South America and the Caribbean are known to have Hebrewisms in their language and culture.
Don't get mad.
Now, Chief Joseph Amahura Riverwind of Arawak Taino descent described an ancient Taino song to breaking Israel news as Shema,
What was
Shema,
you doing?
Naina, Papaska, Hoya, Ya. It is translated into English as listen, listen, people, as you gather together, we will dance before the Creator. Now, this is eerily similar to the Hebrew Shema prayer, Shema, Yisrael, Yahuwah, Eloheinu, Yahuwah, Akkad.
You know, some of these
In
things
Deuteronomy
Fuck, I was out
6,
bullets.
verse 4.
I like
Now,
them.
for the Taino Arawak people, the name of the supreme God or great spirit is Yahya. Now, the Cherokee Indians, who were found to have the maternal DNA haplogroup T specific to ancient Egypt, called themselves the Ani
Motherfuckers.
Ketu Waya and
Oh,
called the
shoot
creator.
a real headshot,
Yoriwa.
pussy.
And the Cherokee were also known to carry an ark into battle, celebrate 7 feast holidays, they had cities of refuge, abstinence from eating pork, and they held the number 4 and 7 sacred, possibly secondary to the fact that they kept the 7th day of rest, which is seen in the Hebrew Israelite culture. Now, the Chippewa Indians called themselves Anish Nabi and believed they were from the tribe of Ephraim. In Hebrew, Anshe Nabi means people of the prophet, as the word Nabi means prophet, and Anshi can also mean people of, as in the word Anshi Shesed, which means people of benevolence or people of kindness and mercy. Now note in 1 Chronicles chapter 6, the Levite man Elkanah was the father of Samuel,
Shoot that
the
motherfucker
prophet,
in his
who
legs.
lived in the mountains of Ephraim. So with all this proof,
Oh, he snuck
let
up
us
on
turn
him.
now to the Bantus Negro people in regards
That
to their
shotgun
Hebrew and
shit.
Egyptian influences in their language.
Oh man, my motherfucking little drop shot didn't work that time.
Ancient stories of different Bantu tribes
Ah,
all tell of
Steffi,
the
what's
time
up? You
when
wanna
they
get on the
lived in
stick,
Congo.
Steph?
The
What?
Congo
So
today
you wanna
is
get on the
known for its
sticks?
rainforest, but in the late 1800s, over 10 million Bantus Hebrew Israelites were killed under the rule of Belgium King Leopold II. African historical documents state that in the ancient past, the Congo was home to a large Hebrew Israelite kingdom.
I tried
Some legends
to.
even state that King Solomon,
tried to
the Israelites,
finesse
and
that
seamen from the
boy.
Canaanite city Tyre came to the Congo looking for precious metals, animals, and spices. Even today, there has been reports of ancient Hebrew being found written on the rocks deep within the forest.
Lay your ass down.
Many Bantu tribes such as the Bakongo, the Luya, the Bamaleke, Sakuma, Baganda, Temne, Kikuyu, Zulu, Exosa, Ashanti, Ewe, Yoruba, Igbo, and
That boy
others
dived
who
to
have
his death. You
migrated
seen
from
him?
Israel south into
Caught that
Africa
boy
by way
Michael
of Egypt.
Phelps.
The The
I
word
knew I liked her.
Sukuma means people of the
All
north.
right, Stephanie.
And the Luya word, Abaluya, means
Just
people
bring
of
you
the
that
north.
on over there.
So why would so
Hold
many
on,
Bantu tribes connect their initial migration point
use it,
into
bro.
Africa from
Oh
Egypt?
shit.
Even
Oh,
Bantu
shit.
speakers from Mozambique, the Congo,
Drop the
Zambia,
shit.
Malawi all testify to a southerly
There,
migration
man.
from Egypt.
Here's your lighter.
So what if these Bantu tribes have Hebrew and also have evidence of the ancient Egyptian language in their mother
Alright,
tongue?
guys. I'm back.
This combination can only mean that the
Ooh.
Bantu people are the true Israelites of the Bible. No other group of people on the planet Earth can attest to this find in their language, not even those today who the world says are Jews. So we know that brown skin tones was something that was natural to the sons of Ham in Africa and the sons of Shem in Mesopotamia and Arabia. But what if we can show evidence of the Hebrew language and the Egyptian language in different African Bantu tribes whose ancient history points back to them being the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible? This kind of proof validates the Bantu people's long history in Egypt as Hebrews in their exodus with Moses and Joshua to Israel.
Fuck.
Is the world ready to finally find out who are the real children of Israel? This is an exciting time we're living in to know that the Most High is waking up his people all across the world to their true Israelite identity. Now this calls for some celebration music as we soak in all this truth.
And out of bullets. Fucking third party. That boy ran to his death. That boy must be a sprinter. Looked like he ran for the African team. Looked like Thomas Harrison. That's how I did Thomas Harrison. Ooh, I was about to headshot that boy. He got the drop on me there. I didn't even look. I just... Oh. God damn it. 5 kills to tie the dude that's on top right now. He's going ape shit. You know what I mean? I'm like that. Okay. Oh shit. What the fuck? Wait. See, I hit him with that big shot now. Shit. That's that shit be throwing far as fuck. Victory third. Fuck it. Third on the free for all. Shit, I take it. Still a V. Oh. I'll get first next time. They said to mute that shit in the background.
How they can hear it if you have your headphones on.
Because it's from this thing. Oh shit. I picked the wrong gun. I don't know this map. Oh shit, Steph. I don't know where I'm going. Fuck. Yeah, he had his thing on. Oh, he's in the scope. He's on top of that building.
Now that we have covered Egypt, there is one missing link that has been overlooked by biblical and Jewish scholars. The link that proves that the Bantus Negro people are the original Hebrew Israelites. So what is this link? First, we must ask the question that no one has bothered to ask. Where are the children of Canaan today that mixed with the Israelites in BC times?
And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons.
Now, African American Negroes have spent 400 years in America, but despite race mixing with different ethnicities, we still look black and not Caucasian. So if Abraham and the 12 sons of Jacob were already a brown-skinned people before entering the land of Ham, which is Africa, then mixing with the black Canaanites or black Egyptians for over 1,500 years, they would naturally produce further generations of Negroid-looking Hebrew Israelites. Before we come to this conclusion, we must first prove that the Canaanites back then and today were people with Negroid features. In Africa, there are a group of people who have been said to have been one of the original inhabitants of Africa. The people who are known by other ethnicities to have traveled to distant
Yo, my nigga
lands.
Mike's probably watching like that nigga is not like that on Warzone.
First. They are called the Little Black People, aka the Black Pygmy Negrito race.
Nigga Mike.
The Moors documented that little dwarfs lived in Morocco and all through the Atlas Mountains in North Africa, even into the south. They were called by many names: the Dinga, the Tiki Tiki, the Aka people, which was the Phoenician Canaanite city in BC times, the Jeti people, the Tawuta, and the Saisiyat black little people in Taiwan. The Koro Poguru black
They
little
said, nigga,
people
you ain't
by
getting
the
up there
Ainu
again.
people in North
I
Japan.
tried.
The Nunihi or
Back to the
Yui
original
Tsudi little people by the Cherokee
Bust the
Indians.
ass.
Now, if we look deep into the ancient history of the Black Pygmy people, we will see that they could very well be the same children of Canaan that our Bible speaks
Fuck
of.
no.
One of the biggest things the Canaanites are well known for in the Bible is the infamous curse of Canaan.
The infamous curse of Canaan. Goddamn.
And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren.
No way, bro.
In the Hebrew Old Testament, the word used for brethren is
Hey, y'all niggas got
Hebrew
mics, what's up?
251, ak,
I ain't even talking no
brother or
bullshit.
brothers. Now, because of this one passage in the Bible,
King
because of the
Slayer.
transatlantic slave trade, it has been fought
Oh, wrong one.
and
Just
taught
looking at the map.
that the so-called
Sorry,
Bantus Negro of the biblical Canaanites. Well, who are the brothers of Canaan? The black Egyptians, the black Cushites of Nubia, and the black North African Hamitic tribes from the lineage of Put in the territory of Libya. So do we have proof that Canaan's brothers were black? So So what about their other brother Put, who lived in modern-day Libya? 1st century AD, Roman commander Silius Italicus described the black Libyan Berbers with the term Negra, which meant black. Now, this was 600 years before Islam existed or any black Muslim war existed. In 6th century AD, Roman poet Flavius Chrysonius Corippus uses the phrase facies negroque colorus, meaning faces or appearance of black color, to describe the North African Libyan Hittite Berbers in his literary work Johannes.
On top. Fuck. Somebody hit that boy so I can get to some points.
For centuries, the Curse of Canaan story has been taught incorrectly by the European Catholic Church and modern Talmudic Judaism, which many black people have believed even until today. The question is, why would Catholics and Jews teach that black people are suffering from the Curse of Canaan? Truth is, the Bantu people in Africa were naturally practicing Hebraic customs without even knowing the English word Hebrew, Jew, or Judaism. In addition, the oral history of their migration from Egypt to Israel and from Israel back to Africa by way of Egypt and Sudan was passed down from the oldest person in the village going back generations upon generations. Now, does this sound like the biblical history of the Canaanites? Of course not. In real history, not too much evidence is found in regards to the identity and current whereabouts of the children of Canaan. This information has been covered up for a reason. But as Yeshua HaMashiach, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ, said in Luke 8:17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing concealed that will not be made known and brought to light." Now, with that being known, the Pygmy tribes in Africa are a group of people who were once very numerous in the land of Ham until the Bantus, Negro, Israelite expansion into Africa. The Pygmy tribes in Africa have always been overshadowed and ruled over by the other great Hamite kingdoms of Africa.
Boys is tied for
the
first.
Libyan Put Empire, the Egyptian Mizraim Empire, the Nubian Kush kingdoms that ruled over ancient Egypt, and Northeast Africa. So the Bantus people are not Hamites, and the Pygmy tribes in Africa are not accounted for in African Hamite history. Then who are they? The only people they could possibly be are the children of Canaan.
No way, bro.
Now here's where it gets interesting.
You stole my
Pygmy
kids.
tribes like the Batwa or Twa Pygmies in Africa were found to have the same Egyptian Canaanite Pygmy Bes god in their
Killed by a
pantheon of
pussy
pagan
ass
gods.
boy.
They also knew of the Pygmy Egyptian Phoenician Canaanite god Ptah Sokar, aka Pataikos.
You ain't hear nobody?
In the FA Pygmy language, the word Ilani or Elah corresponds to energy, force, power, or strength. The ancient Hebrew word El, meaning God, corresponds to strength and power. It consists of the Aleph, Ox, and the Lamed shepherd staff, pictographed Hebrew letters similar to the Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian word Elu or Il for God. In the first dynasty around 3150 BC, Pygmies served and worked directly for the pharaoh.
This boy's tied for fucking first, boy, in this free throw.
Were these Pygmy people Caucasoid? Of course not. Because
I don't know, fuck me. If we get the same amount of kills, nigga, we got the same motherfucking score.
Now, many Pygmy skeletons were found buried in lesser tombs around that of the tombs of the pharaohs. In fact, a proportion of dwarfs in the Egyptian royal cemetery of the first dynasty kings, such as Djer, Hor, Aha, or Narmer, were so numerous that many believed that the Pygmies were brought into Egypt from the land of Canaan. Back then, the Pygmies' purpose in the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom would be seen as a form of servitude to the Egyptian, Libyan, and Nubian Kushite kings, just like the Curse of Canaan states. According to Egyptian history, the black Pygmies of Africa were brought into Egypt as
get the fuck up off my, that was my stoop, bro.
Zookeepers,
get off my pallet,
tellers, astrologers, and entertainers. Egyptian texts from around 2300 BC refer to the Pygmies as little men from the land of trees and spirits at the foot of the mountains of the moon. In Central Africa and the African Great Lakes region, the Batwa Pygmies are regarded as the ancient dwellers of the forest.
I need these kills,
They're
my
also
boy.
known as the keepers of the forest who dwell near the mountains. In ancient biblical times, Egyptian King Pepi II Neferkari, around 2200 BC, sent an expedition into Central Africa, the same place that many Pygmy tribes still dwell today, such as the Congo, Cameroon, Central African Republic, and Zaire, and returned with a dancing dwarf known as Akka. Now, in the pyramid text during the 6th Egyptian dynasty ruler Pepi I, it was declared that, quote, "He who is between the thighs of Nut is the Pygmy who danceth like the god and who pleaseth the heart of the god before his great throne." Now the Black Pygmies used in
Every
ancient
game
Egypt
at the
were
end,
often
I can't
used
never
to
get
dance for
them.
special occasions and religious festivals. Their god Bes was a dwarf god and was known for good things like fighting off
Second.
evil spirits or fertility.
Fuck it.
So he was always associated with music, dancing, and sexual pleasure. Today, the Pygmy people in Africa still enjoy dancing as they are a happy people who are not governed by any specific laws like the Hebrew Mosaic law,
Zesty Zen hit that
the
nigga
Roman
up.
law, or the Arab Sharia law. By the New Kingdom period, from 1550 BC to 1070 BC, they would appear in Egyptian writings as a people of ridicule and abuse. In the Bible, the Pharaoh of Egypt gave King Solomon the Canaanite city of Gezer as a dowry gift for his daughter's hand in marriage. In the Amarna letters, the Canaanites sent distress letters to the Egyptian rulers for help against the chief of the Hebrew, which many believe was Joshua.
Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof. As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
Many Spanish historians say that the word España, meaning Spain in Spanish, comes directly from the hidden word Sephanim, Sephania, or Sephania, which is a Phoenician Canaanite word which
Yeah,
means
boy,
land
my
of
one
the
gun,
rabbit.
basic, nigga. That ain't
They
nothing
say
on
that the
that
Black
shit.
Pygmy Twa people
That
were the
shit
first people
basic.
who named the land of Spain Sephanim or Sephania. Now here's where it gets deep. The Hyrax coney rabbit-like animal in Hebrew is called Shapan or Shapanim, aka rock rabbit. It is only seen in Africa and Israel. But more than half of the world's rabbits and hares are seen in southwestern Europe, such as Spain and North America. Rabbits are different but very similar in appearance to the Hyrax seen in ancient Canaan or Israel. One can see the obvious differences by looking at the ears. Now, if the 12 Pygmies named Spain as Sephanim, Sephania, or Spania, the only way they could have known to call Spain this Hebrew term would be by associating it with the Hebrew word for a rabbit-like animal familiar to their ancestors' word for a Hyrax coney in their ancient language, the Phoenician script, which is identical to ancient Hebrew. The root word of Isephanim or Sephania is the Hebrew Strong's word 8227A, Shapan, Shapanim, or Shepanim. Now this proves that the 12 Pygmies living in southwestern Europe were speaking a language very close to Paleo-Hebrew, although they were not Hebrews. This is the ancient Canaanite language Phoenician. But wait, there's more. Now according to ancient historians like Tacitus, Pliny, and Claudian, the Pygmies were the first people encountered by whites in the British Isles and Scotland. Now these small black Pygmies who were experts in
Electrocute the shit out that boy.
fortune telling, astrology, and good fortune would spark the leprechaun myth in Ireland and Scotland. Now the Abattoir Pygmies, or Twa Pygmies, call very tall people Ngwazi or Langwani. In their ancient Malawian tales, the Abattoir Pygmies speak of a time when their people were numerous throughout the land of Ham or Africa, and how giants who were the first offsprings of winged spirits had sexual relations with the people living in Africa. The Munaji Mountains and its forest reserves are believed to be the first home of the Abattoir people. Ironically, Egyptian texts from around 2300 BC referred to the Pygmies as little men from the land of trees and spirits.
Oh, I didn't mean to throw that
The
shit.
mountains and the moon, and it just so happens that most Pygmy tribes across the world live near mountains and in dense forests. In Pygmy mythology, there is an account of a Garden of Eden, or stories similar to it, as well as a creator and immortal savior like Christ. There is even a flood story amongst the Pygmy tribes. So did the Pygmies learn about the messianic prophecy of Christ from the Hebrew Israelites living in Canaan? Did they know about Joshua and Moses?
Fuck,
Consider
man.
these amazing facts. In the Pygmy creation story, God makes man modeled from the dirt of the earth. God breathes life into man, he becomes alive, and it's called Efe. It's the same name as the Efe Pygmy tribes in the Congo. So God told Efe to have children, and he gave Efe seed dominion over everything on earth. Mankind did not have to work at this time and was immortal. The only thing God forbade them to do was to stay away and not eat from the Tahu tree. This was the first law that God commanded mankind not to do. Now, Fa, his wife, and children obeyed this law. And after some time, Fa had ancestors who populated the earth. And one day, a pregnant
Fucking
woman
Christmas will
convinced her
stole my
husband
kill,
to eat
bitch.
of the fruit of the Tahu tree. The pygmy man didn't want to eat from the tree, but the woman said it was a silly old law. The two argued about it, and eventually the man gave in. Soon the man and the pregnant woman gave all the pygmy people in the forest some fruit from the Tahu tree. They all thought that God would never find out what they had done, but he did. After God found out what they had done, man lost his immortality and was able to get sick and die. The woman was punished with pain and childbirth, and mankind was made to work the earth until death and that beyond.
Give birth?
And the pygmy tribes were also aware of the giving of commandments to the Bantus people by God and the second coming of what they called the pygmy Messiah. Now the Hadza or Hadzabe people of Tanzania are people who carry the same Y DNA haplogroup B as the pygmies do, and to a lesser degree the Y DNA E1B1A, which is seen in the Bantus Negro people. They are of short stature, just like the pygmy people. And some also have an Asian look to their outer facial appearance, just like the Khoisan Bushman people. Now, according to the Hadza people, Ishoye, the creator, caused a great flood that was sent to kill the evil, wicked people of the earth, including the giants. The Hadza people also claim in their mythology that there was a Bantus, the Zanzu man, similar to Joshua the Israelite, who defeated the giants in the land of their people. And this falls in line with the Hebrew Israelites coming into the land of Canaan and being told by God to wipe out the giants, including the Canaanites, in the book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 2. Now, the maternal DNA marker labeled 9BP deletion is seen in all the African pygmies. It can also be seen in the Lemur Jews, the Remba, Venda, Shona people, Central African Bantus tribes, East African Bantus tribes, South African Bantus tribes, Native American Indians, select tribes in India, in Papua New Guinea, in the Philippines, in Polynesia, and parts of Asia, extending all the way up from Taiwan to Japan. Their African maternal DNA LOA and out of African maternal DNA haplogroups B, E, and F can be seen in Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia, and Asia. Now, the Lemur Jews who lived mostly in South Africa told their ancestry as Israelites who left Israel during the Babylonian invasion.
Fuck.
They migrated into Arabia and further south into Yemen. From Yemen, they crossed over the Gulf of Aden into Ethiopia and later migrated into South Africa. However, the Lemur Jews carried the same maternal DNA markers seen in the different pygmy tribes scattered in Africa. The problem is, the Lemur Jews did not openly confess to intermarrying with pygmy women. So where did the Lemur Jews pick up
I gotta
this
get me
DNA
a
marker
shotgun. That
carried by the
shotgun
pygmy
be
people?
crushing.
And where did they pick up the Negro-specific paternal DNA E1B1A? It has to be in the land of Canaan or Israel. In the book Totemism and Exogamy by James George Fraser, he states that in Sir Harry Johnson's venture into the Congo and Uganda, he documented that all the Congo pygmies were circumcised, and both male-female sexes had their teeth filed or sharpened to a point. Now, the Canaanites will also learn to practice circumcision on their babies and men, as noted in the biblical story, the slaughter of the men of Shechem in Genesis chapter 34. Now, Shechem was a Canaanite prince who had sex with Jacob's only daughter, Dinah.
Because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said unto them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughter unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people.
Now, the Israelite E1B1A Y-DNA haplogroup and the L2 maternal DNA haplogroup, seen mostly in African American Negroes, today can also be seen in some pygmies in Africa. Now, this proves that the pygmy tribes have a long history of mixing with their Israelite neighbors, just as the Bible tells us. Now, here's where it gets even deeper. The Abattoir or Twa pygmies write their letter M, pronunciation like a wave of water. It symbolized water for them because in ancient times they had a shrine altar to the rain gods on the Mulanje mountain in Malawi. In ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the letter Mem is drawn like a wave of water as it represents the M pronunciation and was a symbol for water. Coincidence?
Nigga got 28 on me.
In
Fuck.
Malawi, Abatwa Pygmies also wrote for their pronunciation of Ka, which is the letter K or Kaf in modern Hebrew, resembling the picture of a
Stay right
bowl
the fuck there.
with the meaning cup hand
Sticking my
for
nose out
making
too
the
far.
Sembi offerings. Back then in ancient times, the Abatwa Pygmies offered up their offerings using their hands open, facing up, just like the Paleo-Hebrew, Phoenician
Boy, what the fuck was that?
pictograph
You
Kaf.
thought that? That shit
Now, the
was
letter
sweet,
T,
my
or
boy.
the character associated with the T sign, was drawn by the Abatwa Pygmies as a sort of X, which was the language of the
They tried
Twa,
to jump on me
Abatwa,
like this
Sapitwa
nigga
priesthood.
out
It is not a coincidence
Yeah.
that the way that the Abatwa Pygmy priests wrote the letter T pronunciation is the same way that ancient Canaanites and ancient Hebrews wrote their
there.
letter
Not first
T.
or last, Ricky Bobby.
Now, with all this information, again, using critical thinking, we can conclude that the Pygmy tribes in Africa are in fact the biblical Canaanites from Ham's lineage. Therefore, proving even more with our knowledge of the Bible that the children of Israel, including Christ in biblical times, could not have been Caucasian-looking people after mixing with the black sons of Ham for thousands of years. Now, this leads us to a bigger piece of the puzzle, a final puzzle piece that will help the world understand who were then and still are today the chosen people of Yahuwah, the real bloodline descendants of the children of Israel.
That nigga B Raw, good shit. GG, nigga, GG. Oh, man. Is that who killed me? Oh, that nigga B Raw killed me at the last joint. Oh, that's dirty. That's dirty stuff.
Pestilence, earthquakes, and famines. 3 deceivers who claim to follow
Nigga,
Christ.
that's 30 of
That's
them
Matthew
things.
24, 4 and 5. False prophets, false Christ. Number 4, shout 4. The people of Israel shall return to the land. That's in Ezekiel 37, verse 21 and 22. Thus said the Lord God, surely I will take the children of Israel from among the nations, whatsoever they
The time is now for the so-called Negroes in America to wake up to their true Israelite identity. The Most High is calling His chosen people to come out of Babylon in a system of deception. Will you be the one that has ears to hear and makes the right choice?
It's a funny thing, Mary. Once someone offers you a choice, you can't ever go back to the way it was before. If you don't try, when you go out of here, you'll find your pride has shrunk to 10 inches. If you do try, well, if you do try, you may have something really proud of. What do you say?
All right. I'll try.
Good girl.
So here we are today in the 21st century, and we are seeing a mass movement where black people in America are seeking out their identity. From paying attention to social media trends, I believe most people today would say that the common consensus is that black people are finding out that their identity is not defined by the word black, Negro, or African American, but with the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. But as we all know, because of years of being taught incorrectly in church that we are the Gentiles, when the Most High reveals the truth to His people, we have a choice to either accept it or reject it. Either way, the truth doesn't change. So why is this awakening happening globally? If we look to the scriptures, we can see why this awakening is now happening.
The hand of the Lord was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord, and set me down in the midst of a valley which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about.
I don't know this
And
man.
behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy on these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the
They tried to
Lord.
do that same slick
Thus
shit,
saith
boy,
the Lord
Kingslayer,
God
boy.
of
What
these
the fuck you talking
bones,
about?
Behold, I will cause
What that boy
breath
talking
to
about?
enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon
Ought to be
you,
a
and
pro
will bring
player.
up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that
Oh.
I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was a noise, and behold a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, Son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith the Lord God, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, when I have opened
Fucking
your graves, O
third
my
party
people,
faggot.
and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it, and
By the Lord.
performed it, saith the Lord. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou
So
son
the
of
Lord
man,
ain't helped me today.
take
Shit.
thee one stick, and write upon
Be
it,
the Lord out
for
of it.
Judah,
It's Call
and
of Duty.
for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
To fully understand the biblical component of this awakening of Negroes to their true Israelite identity, we have to go back to the past.
So the plantation system, in a smaller and modified way, continued and can be found in the South today. Much of the work is still done by hand. Much of the wealth still comes from one crop, cotton. Most of the workers are Negroes who live on the plantation.
Most of the workers are Negroes who live on the
Today, man who
plantation.
owns
Stuff.
the
What the fuck are you
plantation
watching?
is called the
It's that
landlord.
movie, Mason. Shut
The
the
men
That movie's still on.
are tenants.
Yes.
Oh, I thought that shit was out over an hour ago. I thought you'd have found the cabal, the conspiracy theory type shit.
Important parts of the plantation system.
You're annoying.
Today,
Oh.
this owner has less land than the plantation owner of the past.
My bad. I was seeing who texted me. It was Hobie sending me controller
And the
fucking
great mansions of earlier
things for my
times.
game.
The tenant farmers and their families live on the
Where there's
plantation.
one, there's two.
Each family has a small house, which they rent
Well, bro, I
together
was
with a
throwing a
section of
bang.
land.
Alright, I'm gonna stop up.
Oh boy.
Alright, bye.
After Abraham freed the slaves on January 1st, 1863, many Negroes in America were hopeful that things would change. Sharecropping was just another form of slavery by another name. In the 1900s, we thought that segregation was bad and integration was good for us. But here we are in the 21st century, and things seem to have been better when we had our own communities like Black Wall Street, where we were forced to work with each other.
Mason, what'd you
For
do
many
with
black
the
people in
thing?
America who are waking up, we now know
man.
that all of our struggles in America have been because of the presence of Israel.
Somewhere.
But just like Malcolm
Maybe in
X
the
said,
kitchen.
there are still
What?
many of us who are
Maybe
asleep
it's in the-
Negroes.
In the kitchen?
And there are many of us who are trapped in
Maybe.
the mentality of the house
I'm
Negro.
not sure. Just if you give me a second after this game is almost over,
This is Harlem.
I'll find it.
Harlem has always had the reputation of being a place of music, gaiety, and excitement. But to us, it has another meaning. Here, only
Killed both them
Negroes.
pussies.
How did this come about?
Oh.
The Negro was brought
Mason,
from
you
Africa
really
to
make
be
me angry.
sold into slavery. A century ago, slavery was abolished,
Oh,
but a
no.
pattern
Hold
of
on.
segregation took its place. Although there have been significant changes, we are still deprived in many instances of full rights and opportunities.
Are those doors
There
over
are
there?
hospitals in which the
I said I'll find it.
surgeons
One
are
second.
not allowed to practice.
There's.
And in some states,
Didn't I put that? I put that one in your purse.
What?
There's another one in your purse.
We shall see some of the ways in which the situation is changing. But first, let us ask a cross-section of Negroes how segregation affects their lives.
Segregation to the average Negro means being held back. He's looking for progress, he wants to move forward in the American mainstream. Segregation
It's something that's ridiculous. Take the white people in the South that, or not only in the South.
Oh, I almost had that quadruple.
Refuses to
Boys was going for that quadruple.
Negro
That boy fucked it up for me.
Negro woman to sit in a restaurant or to ride next to them in a bus or a train or anything. And then on the other hand, turns around and wants a colored woman to come into their home and cook their food and serve them their dinner after having our hands all in
Look
their
in the
food.
cabinet.
I think
What
somebody's got to be
What in the
crazy.
kitchen? On the top.
I'm just saying, start from track where.
At all. As far as
Well, I put one in. We have like 3 or 4 of those things.
up until this present
I
time,
put it in the cabinet somewhere. I
in
don't
order to
know.
understand how any Negro feels under segregation, you have to realize that from
You
the
find it?
infancy, has it pounded into him that he's not as good as other people. There are things he cannot do. Don't do this, you can't do this, you can't do the other. It builds into a man a feeling of inferiority, a feeling of frustration, a feeling of resentment.
So much bitterness builds up in a person and resentment when you know that you're being segregated against simply
The boy
because
lit my
you're
boot on
black,
fire.
and there's nothing that you can do about it. There is something you're trying to do about it.
These students
Those
are typical of many throughout the country, both Negro and white, who have been effective in bringing the barriers of segregation. Sense the confidence and dedication of these young people as they discuss their plan.
Talk about the possibility of spending your Christmas in jail. I think the most beautiful thing that we could do would be to stage a mass sit-in or some type of demonstration. If they did not serve us, to remain until they serve us. If arrested, to go in jail and receive bail. That's what I think will have a much larger impact than just mere arrest. I'd like to hear your comments on it and see exactly what you think and how you feel about it. Tommy?
We can get caught simply but not yet by just going in and coming out. And we decided to spend Christmas in jail now.
How many people would actually feel committed enough right now that if it came to this, they would spend that time in jail over the Christmas holiday?
Through
Ranked
the
up
years,
on that
Negroes
pussy.
have always protested against segregation.
Amazing.
What you see here
Like
is
my
an
people aren't
example
waiting
of a
because
new
of you.
Nightmares are not the sole property of Southern sleepers. This is Brooklyn,
Like this is absolutely
New York,
absurd.
where headlines tell of repeated incidents of police brutality.
Here, let me wait on Monday before we go.
Perhaps I'm not the right person to talk about this case, but I
Doesn't that
feel it
sound like a good idea,
so
Reverend?
deeply and so closely that I'll not rest until somebody pays for the death of Al Jarrett, where he's my brother.
Wait, what?
I'm angry about a number of things, not only about Edward Silver,